All right, top of the morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? It is raining out here, and it's not too bad though. I mean, you just got to be careful when you're driving on the road and in these conditions. But other than that, everything's cool. I wanted to thank everybody once again. If you made it here to this video, I can thank you. I can't appreciate you enough. And thanks to everybody who's been watching the live stream and the current videos. You guys are absolutely awesome. Every Saturday morning, we try to go live. We talk about gaming and everything under the umbrella. And we're trying to grow the channel. I got some things in the works, so hopefully you guys stick around and support. I want to talk about a video from yesterday that I did when I was talking about the dilemma I had with retro games. And I'm thinking that maybe I'm looking at this a little bit wrong, because I got, I talked to a couple friends of mine or whatever the case may be, and I saw some people in the comment section, and a couple people were saying like, hey, maybe, you're looking at this a little bit different. Maybe you're just looking at the AAA scene, or some people like saying that, hey, I feel the same way. But I think that this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for us to actually search for these type of games that are not, just really, really bad, or games that are not like really, really good. They're supposed to be high expectations. We just need to find the games that are just in the middle of the road that become great over time. And I think that's one thing that we've learned when we were playing the games back in the day. We were playing games on the Super Nintendo or the Saturn or the PS1. These were games that were fairly solid to good, and it became great over time. Now, there are some games that were just great out the gate. I mean, there's no way around that. There's just some games that were just absolutely awesome once you got into them. But for the most part, I think that there's a lot of games, because there's a lot of games that are being released and a lot of games that are in the catalog from the PlayStation 4 era on up that we're just missing. And we're missing them because a little bit of social media, content creation, watching YouTube and all this other good stuff. And if you don't really look like further into what's going on, you will miss a game like the game that I love pretty much right now is like the game of the year for me is Rogue Flight, or you'll miss I think what's the game called, Freedom Planet, that I found on PC. It's a couple other games that I found that was like indie or AA type games on PC that turned out to be really, really, really good, like solid games that maybe in 3 or 4 years you'll be like, oh, this is a great game. Because a lot of games from back in the day, in my opinion, they became great over time because how well they held up. Not necessarily they were just all of these great solid retro games were just great out the gate. No, a lot of these games were really, pretty good, and they became what they are today. And when you look at games like, like the Street Fighters of the world or the Mortal Kombats of the world, these were like really, solid to good games. And now we look back on them now like, hey man, like Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting or Street Fighter 2 Turbo is like really good. You know what I mean? Or when you look at a game just like a Gran Turismo 4, like people still think that's like one of the greatest racing games ever, but it wasn't like that when the game came out in 2005. It just got great over time because we cherished the moment and we learned the game and we learned everything about the game. And the more we got exposed to playing to it and the more we learned about the game, the better the game has become. That's why a lot of people still look at San Andreas. A lot of people look at Vice City. A lot of people look at these games like masterpieces, Metal Gear Solid, 2, or even the first one, Snake Eater. These are games that are absolutely amazing. And even back then, they probably were that top tier of a game. But the longer we, the longer we studied the game, the more we played it, the more we realized, oh, this is awesome. This is one of the GOATs. You know what I'm saying? So this is a thing that I feel like we need to start doing. We need to start looking into these games that are out now and that are coming out now, and maybe there will be those type of games over time. Like for instance, one game I really, really like, and unfortunately it may go away because of the servers. I don't know if it's an offline mode, but Outriders is a very good game. Like Outriders is like amazing. It's one of my favorite games during the PS4, PS5 era, or the Xbox 360 era. Xbox One era. Really good game. Rise Son of Rome is another game that don't get that much recognition anymore. Nobody really talks about that game, but it's really good. Knack is another really good game that came out in the beginning of the Xbox One, PS4 era, and they turned out to be, really good games. Like the entire Infamous series, Infamous Second Son, First Light. Is that what it's called? First Light? I don't know, but yeah, these games are like amazing now looking back at them. But at one point, they were just okay, solid games. And I think I need to be more on the search for these type of games. Games that are like just solid and I haven't played yet. And I need to go back and play them and enjoy my time. Try to have that same energy I have for the retro stuff. Because maybe I'm missing out. Because like I said, maybe with social media, and I'll say this. Maybe with social media, we have an issue with content creation and all the other good stuff. Maybe there's some games that are out there that are really good. They get the recognition. Some games that are really bad, everybody dog piles on those games. But there's games in the middle because games are being created and released damn near every day. And we just overlook those games. And maybe those are the games that, they don't make the gaming news, or they don't make the great content that's suitable for your average YouTuber, because it's a game that's just all right. It's a game that's good. We could play it, but there's no story behind it because it's not overtly good or it's not terribly bad. So maybe we need to find those games that are in the middle to where we can enjoy games on these consoles and even on PC, to where we can actually have a solid experience with these consoles. Because I put it like this. A lot of people say this generation is cooked, this generation that, and maybe so. I'm not saying that you're right or wrong, and because you might be right. Maybe this generation is a bunch of games that was put out as a bunch of shovelware. Maybe so. But at the same time, I got to give myself the opportunity to try and look. Because I know there's not just one Rogue Flight out there. Rogue Flight is a great game. I love playing that game. There's not just one Rogue Flight out there. There's other games that are just as solid that we don't know about. And I think, at least for this channel, we're going to go on a crusade to find some solid games that are actually, worth playing. I think, a game like... I don't know if you guys played it. Medium was pretty good. There's a couple other games I can't name off the top of my head from the PS4 era that was really solid that I started to play, and I didn't finish it because I was playing some other stuff. I know it's I think it's Mothered or Remothered. It's one of those. It got two versions of the game, Porcelain something, and it's a horror game. But I'll talk about it later on in the week, and that's maybe a game that we need to play and get into and actually talk about. But there's a lot of solid games out here that I even know that I have, but it's just a part of the backlog that I just haven't really gotten into, and I've been, I guess for better or worse, I've been unfairly treating this generation a little bit worse than it really is. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the generation is pretty bad, but at the same time, maybe I'm looking at it through a lens where I didn't give it a complete fair shake on looking at all the games that have been put out there that are hidden gems or under the radar, or games that are in your face, but you don't give it the time of day because you hear about the Concords of the world, or you turn around and hear, the Elden Rings of the world, the two diametrically opposed games. You hear those great games, the Ghost of Tsushima's, but then you turn around and people are looking at Assassin's Creed Shadow the other way. It gotta be somewhat of a middle ground where a lot of these games coming out that there's some, I would say below average to above average games that we're just missing. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Are y'all feeling the same way? Did y'all have this thought process at some point? It's just something I was thinking about after the last video I did. It was something I thought about, and I was like, man, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. But we'll see. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm going to get up out of here. They already finished with my truck already, so I got to get back on this road. It is raining out here, so I got to be careful. But I'm going to get up out of here. And y'all take it easy. And hopefully y'all like, share, subscribe. And got some things in the works for y'all. Hopefully we get that up and rolling, and make this bigger and better than what it is right now. All right, y'all, I'm out. Peace.